Hi guys, and thank you for joining me. This is going to be your 2015 review reading. I know it's coming in the end of January. However, I think that it's still going to provide you guys with all the questions that you have. So answer all the questions that you have for the month. I'm reading with the Alexander Daniloff Tarot deck, and I'm using only the trumps from his deck. But the deck with the lower arcana, which is all 78 cards, I am selling on my website, and you can get the link below. I believe this deck is one of the best decks out there, and that's why I chose it. So, without further ado, let's begin your reading. Hi Leo, and thank you for joining me. This is your 2015 overview reading, so it's going to be coming to you in two parts. The first part will talk about the general themes of the year, while the second part will kind of extrapolate on any kind of prognosis or future aspects that you may be dealing with. As I've said, I'm reading with the 22 Higher Arcana from the Alexander Daniloff Tarot deck. It's a really beautiful tarot deck that I think that everyone should get. It's very limited edition, only 450 copies of the second edition. I'm reading with the first edition deck, but it's essentially the same with the exception that the cards are not numbered or nor are they signed in the second edition. Enough about that, so suffice it to say, let's have a look at what your year will bring. Alright. Oh, cool. Well, really good card in the middle. So strange. Okay. So as you can see, this is the regular Celtic cross. I've been having some questions about this spread. This is a spread that I made. It's based on the Celtic cross, but it has other spreads that are incorporated in it and other modifications. So I did use some influence on this and some ideas, but then I integrated it, and I do the Celtic cross quite differently than many readers, as I kind of follow a different pattern in the way that I lay out the cross itself. So I'll do a video about that sometime. Alright, so let's see. Well, a lot's going on for you this year. So one thing that I can tell right off the bat is that your social environment is going to persist from before, and in essence you're going to be improving your circumstances socially. However, it's going to be a persistence of everything that's happened for you leading up to this point. What I mean is that people are not going to give you a pass in order to circumnavigate your social network. So your friends and family are going to kind of keep you at bay and keep you where you are with things. They're not going to be helping you emancipate yourself, and you're going to start branching out in new directions. However, those new directions are not going to be available to you right away, not until the year has passed. Now, it's really important to really remember that Leo is such a social sign that a lot of your existence is really relevant to the people around you. You like to take a leadership role, but even in a leadership role, there's a level of responsibility or subservience to the people around you and to the community as a whole. But overall, there's fundamental shifts that are going on for you, particularly under the surface, that are quite subtle. And even on the surface, everything that's going to be happening for you this year is going to be subtle changes that are not going to allow for massive shifts. They're just going to be subtle changes of attitude, subtle changes of situation. They're going to be subtle changes of a variety of things that are going to put you in a different situation, put you in a different circumstance. And a lot of this is going to be happening for your benefit. It's going to be clearing out your karma. It's going to be clearing out all the wrongs that you've been put through. All the circumstances that are disadvantageous to you are going to be cleansed through this process, and it's going to allow you to move forward and not really look back on the things of the past. So if you are a man, you may be letting go of a partner, and then throughout the whole year you may come into your own. So if you are a guy, Leo, this may be a time when you're kind of letting go of a relationship, and so, or if you're a homosexual woman, you may be letting go of a relationship and then moving forward. And this whole process may be that kind of a thing. If you're a woman, then you may be letting go of an expectation or a part of yourself that you've invested in, or an understanding about marriage and family that you had dealt with. And if you're a woman, or if you're a heterosexual, well, hold on, I'm losing track, or a homosexual man, meaning that you're not going to be interested in women, you may kind of explore a lot of different variants in terms of relationships and love, and be just cautious of not allowing yourself and making yourself vulnerable to being exploited. And I mean, no one should, but in this circumstance in particular, there may be some environments that you may be exposed to this year as you go out and explore, that are going to be a challenge, that are going to be something to contend with. But don't worry, you're going to be able to manage it well. I think that maybe if you have a friend who's an Aquarius, then things with that person may come to an end. But you may be actually balancing out some of the fundamental changes to what you're going through, particularly if you're a man involved in a committed relationship. It may take some time, the whole process of integrating and breaking free of the commitment that you've brought yourself into may take some time for you to actually step in. But once you really step into it, you're going to step into a powerful role and emancipate yourself, feel powerful, feel blessed, and allow good things to wash over you. So you're not taking the easy road. And that's really overall what I see in this reading for you, is that you're not taking the easy road out, and you're kind of taking your responsibilities seriously, particularly through the summer, and you're really kind of integrating everything and taking it slow. So rather than just eliminating someone out of your life who you no longer want to be with, you're treating them with respect and dignity, and you're using the rule. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this rule, that if you enter into a relationship, you should leave that relationship or that person in a better circumstance than when you entered it. So it's a pretty nice philosophy. And so this is kind of, maybe you're not doing that for the other person. Maybe you're just kind of generally creating a positive flow, and you're creating a positive influence on yourself and your life. And so your goal is to kind of manage the circumstance well as you identify the most important things in your life. Okay, so that's the summary, that's the overview, but let's get in through the details. We start with the Wheel of Fortune, and Wheel of Fortune at the center always promises a prosperous year. So with the Wheel of Fortune, it says that there's going to be influences on you in your life that are going to impact you in a positive way. And then when you hit an impasse, expect good things to come your way. But don't do things expecting a fortune, because that's not the way things work, especially with this card next to it is the Justice card. And the Justice card is really kind of coming under the observance of a greater power of authority over equality. And this card also suggests that the equality was skewed against you, which means that you were the sufferer of having a lower equality position up until this point, and now there's going to be shifts for you going on, particularly in the private sphere, that are going to be shifting for you to improve that. So I think that on the surface you're going to have shifts of luck, but really what's going on is things becoming more fair for you. Maybe you've led a really honest life up until this point, Leo, and Leo has that altruism about them, so I can say that freely for the whole sign. But maybe you've led that really generous life, and now this is your time to kind of need something, and it's time for a bit of a payoff. So that payoff is coming. Let's see. So now we're looking at the social manifestation or the externalization of the matter, in particular kind of the sociology of the circumstances. And these are, remember, they are archetypes. This is something I forgot to mention in the other signs, and I'm getting tons of questions about it. When you get these cards, they can manifest for you. This is a yearly reading through archetypes, which means that this is going to manifest for you in a variety of ways to really get your abstract thinking cap on, and that's going to really apply to you in a variety of ways, not just one situation, not just one relationship. And so this is where I was talking about that there's a perseverance of a status quo for you. There's a perseverance of a status quo for you in terms of relationships. I think that you see that there's a positive payoff for you after this time of waiting. The difficulty of the time of waiting is that it's not determinate how long you're going to have to wait for. Some of this you've done to yourself. Some of this you've chosen yourself, and some of this you're at the mercy of the greater forces at play. So not all of it you have control over, but some of it you do have control over, in which case you have chosen a path in which you have decided to extend a circumstance that you may have left otherwise, and this is called the sacrifice. This card is also associated with purgatory, so if you have done anything that was kind of not good ethically in your own terms, or in your religion's terms, or your philosophical terms, if you've done something that is not becoming of you, then this is a good opportunity this year to really cleanse yourself and make amends with that. So making gestures, so people ask me, how do I symbolically do this? You can do this via volunteering as a great symbolic gesture of kind of repealing karma, or fixing things that you cannot fix. If you can directly fix it with the person or persons with whom you've impacted, you know, by contradicting that behavior, by giving a gesture or a gift or even a note, you know, but it has to be generous and it can't be cheap. And the more generous and thorough it is, the better it is. So maybe this is the kind of opportunity you have this year, is to cleanse yourself and to allow yourself to be examined and examine your own personality in the social sphere and how you interact with others. And then you'll see these fine adjustments that are going on, and those adjustments are really good for your personality. They're good for your personality. They're also good for your character and your emotional health. And so that emotional health is coming up, and yourself as a person. The Chariot really talks about this escalation, so movement upwards as opposed to vertically. Here you don't see this, but in the Rider-Waite deck you see the Sphinxes with their paws firmly on the ground, and the Sphinxes are not moving. It's the upward mobility of the card, and the upward mobility has to do with ascension and increase in vibration level, and that only happens when we're altruistic and we're true to ourselves. If you're not agreeing with vibration levels and all that stuff, it just means being a good person and setting wrongs to right, and setting off in a good direction. And that direction is starting for you socially this year in new ways. I think you're exploring, trying new things, exposing yourself to new people and new interactions, trying to get to know new people, and kind of set yourself out into the world. And overall, I get this picture that there's a perseverance of what's going on. There's not a giant shakeup or an end in your social circumstances. There's not massive shifts, but the shifts that are going on are really under the surface, and they really got to do with your own positive affirmations and improvement of who you are as a person, and then also kind of trying to find other people who are going to reciprocate that quality of yourself as a human being. So you know, it's okay if you do a lot of self-work and your friends no longer measure up because of their character or their quality of life. Like, if you stop drinking and partying, why don't spend your time with people who drink and party, even if they are friends. Find new friends with whom you can share quality activities with, and grow from that. But it's not going to really manifest into anything concrete like a really definitive social circle. And that, you know, you guys know that it takes a really long time to develop those kinds of friendships. So just be patient with it, is what I'm saying. Is if it doesn't really manifest for you in like a good solid friend right away, then just take your time with it. And if you do find a good solid friend, also take your time with it, because people may have dual faces, and there may be other things going on behind the surface. Well, this is a good lead into what's going on underneath the surface for you, and that's the moon card, which is really interesting because the card talks about below the surface, intuition, dreams, secrets, but these secrets are from within yourself. So you're tapping these great secrets about who you are. I think that your mindset is set to be very global this year. So maybe some of the experiences that have been going on for you have really shifted your gaze to the global citizenship. Maybe the events that are happening around the world with all the crises and all the terrorism that's really flared up in the last few months has really shifted your conceptualization of yourself, maybe beyond your national bounds. So if you're Canadian, maybe you're thinking about yourself as a world citizen now, or American. So that becomes really important for you underneath the surface, this kind of global citizenship. And that's really connected to you in these subtle influences. For example, maybe you're watching a video or a tape and you're influenced by, you know, interviews with people, let's say in Afghanistan, who are talking about their own experiences, and you find yourself crying and really identifying with their plight, and not thinking of them as a foreign national, but thinking of them as another human being that has significantly struggled and been oppressed by many regimes, not just one. And so that's going to really shift your change in focus, and that's going to really happen for you in the personal space. The massive shift, I think, and everybody goes through transitions. There was a comment about that in my other video. It's true, everybody goes through massive transitions, but it's what kind of transition are you going through? And for you, it's really kind of a change in personality and a resurgence in a more altruistic and global perspective, and that becomes really important to you. But it's coming through the deep emotional levels rather than rationalizing, rather than saying, oh, you know, such and such was a dictator and he oppressed his people, and so therefore it's seeing and hearing people talk, and seeing and connecting with the world issues such as environmental causes, and being shocked by what's going on, and really having an impact on yourself beyond just the 5-minute thought and leaving it behind. So fundamentally you are changing a lot this year, but on the surface everything's going to kind of stay the same, or continue in the same way as it had done before, unless if you are a man, as I said, and then maybe there's that transition in terms of relationships. But if that transition is happening, then it's already begun. It's something that you're just in the stages of completing. So you've made your decision, you know about this. So don't worry that if you're a guy and watching this, you think that this is going to wash over you all of a sudden and there's going to be a serious upset. There isn't an upset for you this year, Leo. I mean, we all go through upsets, and I'll talk about that in part 2, what the possible upsets could be. But so far I think that your year is very tame. It's very calm. And the past situation that is leading up to this, maybe many of you Leos have experienced a marriage yourselves, and maybe you guys have come into a joint committed union with another person, or maybe the influence of a brother or a sister who's a teacher of sorts, someone who lives for their own path, but someone who teaches by proxy. So you hear about their exploits, you hear about their experiences, and that influences you. Maybe that's the piece that kind of gives you perspective on which way to go and how to go about things. There may be also a circumstance in which some of you are actually marrying the Virgos, or maybe you find yourself alone in a marriage and trying to contemplate your own position in life. Maybe this started in the past, in the recent past, and then you're maybe you've been in a union, in a successful union. There's no issue with the union. However, you yourself find that you need to find your autonomous voice. So maybe some people, you know, some couples, they really live through each other. They don't make decisions together. They just function together as a group, and they're very dependent on each other's codependency and dependent on each other's, you know, decisions, and they tell each other what to do and that kind of thing. So for some people that codependence, I hate calling it codependence because it has a negative stigma. So that symbiotic relationship between two people that sometimes is so entwined, you find yourself, oh, well, maybe I want to start thinking about, without challenging this order, think about who I am and what my perspective is about the matter. In fact, the Hermit and the Hierophant is a really nice combination together, because the Hierophant is the prescribed order that you're entering into, and the Hermit is self-regulated thought through experiences. So maybe this is the marriage for you that has come over you, the marriage between the two influences. All right, well, I hope that you enjoyed this video. I have to kind of wrap it up due to video restrictions and battery restrictions, but we'll start with part 2 in just a sec. Click over here to get there. Bye. Oh, make sure to like, subscribe, and click through to my sponsors below.